Simon, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Dave. You're welcome.
Now, you come from a very interesting background. In fact, your great-grandfather was the Premier of Queensland in the 1900s. In fact, the Kidston gold mine is named after your grandfather. Talk to us about your lineage for just a minute, and then talk to us about your two projects that you currently have underway. These are clean energy solution technologies that you've developed, solar properties and hydro properties. Talk to us about this technology.
Yeah, so my great-great-grandfather was the Premier of Queensland twice in the early 1900s. And that was when they discovered gold at this location, and the miners named the mine after the Premier. So I've come along 100 years later, and I acquired the company and the project from the then owners, Barrick Goldfields of Canada. Genex Power is all about renewable energy generation and energy storage, and all of our efforts are focused on the one location, which is the Kidston gold mine. So the first project is a 50 megawatt solar PV project, and that is at a very advanced pre-construction phase in that we've now completed the feasibility study. We've got all the approvals, and we're just finalising our funding arrangements to enable construction to commence later this year, with first cash flow next year. Our second project is the Kidston Pump Storage Hydro Project, and that's where we're going to use the existing infrastructure left behind by the gold mine to develop a very low-cost pump storage hydro project in North Queensland.
Simon, what's your business model? How do you make money on these projects?
Yeah, so we have a very simple business model. We intend to sell electricity under long-term contracts. So by doing that, we intend to generate stable long-term cash flows for our shareholders, and the sort of cash flows that you would expect to see from a major infrastructure generation asset.
What is the size of the market opportunity, and what makes your technology, these projects, different than your competitors?
Yeah, sure. The main advantages are driven by its location, and in relation to the solar project, it has the best solar resource of any solar project in Australia. And because we're in the southern hemisphere, the further north the project, the further west the project, the better the solar resource. And the better the solar resource, the more energy and the better the economics. In terms of the hydro project, that is going to utilise the existing infrastructure left behind by the gold mine, and by doing so save hundreds of millions of dollars of capital expenditure that you would normally need to spend to develop a project like this.
Simon, these are large projects. Institutional investors want to know that this business model is sustainable. They want to know that you can access capital. Talk to us about how you fund these projects.
So the key to funding these projects is entering into long-term sales contracts to sell the electricity forward. And we are very, very close to finalising our first contract. And when we do so, that will support substantial amounts of project finance debt to fund the development of the project. We've also been very fortunate to receive a good level of government funding. In fact, we've received our first government grant, and we've been shortlisted to receive a substantial grant for the solar project. The federal government's also very supportive of our hydro initiative, and they've got a special dedicated fund to assist the development of major infrastructure projects in our part of the world.
Now, Simon, though we've talked about it briefly, what are some of the corporate milestones that investors can expect over the next 12 months?
Absolutely, Dave. So we've got a very busy year planned for 2016. The first key technical milestone is the execution of a connection agreement with the utility operator to connect our solar project into the national electricity market. That's expected in coming weeks. The second major milestone will be commencement of construction, which we anticipate towards the end of this calendar year, which will enable first cash flow next year. In terms of our hydro project, we are within 2 months of completing our bankable feasibility study, and after doing that, we'll be in project finance discussions with major utilities and government agencies to fund that.
Simon, what is the essential value proposition? Why should investors consider owning your stock today at its current market cap?
I think given we've got a relatively modest market capitalisation at present, the implementation of these milestones we're targeting, being the execution of a long-term sales contract, the connection agreement, getting our projects into production and cash flow, should see a substantial re-rating. I also think over the medium term, these assets would be considered strategic by major infrastructure groups and energy institutions and utilities, and I think there could be broader corporate appeal down the track. once these projects were operating.
Simon, thanks for being with us today.
Pleasure, Dave. Thank you very much.